The difference between repeating a lesson and revisiting it. After an old wound resurfaces, many people immediately ask themselves a difficult question: am I back where I started? It is a painful thought, because if you have spent months or even years trying to heal, the return of familiar emotions can feel like evidence that nothing has changed. You may wonder if you are simply repeating the same lesson over and over again. But what if there is an important difference between repeating a lesson and revisiting it? At first, they can look very similar. The same emotions appear, the same memories surface, the same fears seem to return, the same relationship patterns may even be triggered. From the outside, it can feel as though nothing has changed. But when we look more closely, something important is often different. You. You are not the same person who encountered this experience before. You carry different awareness, different wisdom, different boundaries, different questions, and sometimes that changes everything. Imagine reading a book at 10 years old, then reading the same book again at 30. The words may be identical, but the person reading them is not. The meaning changes because you have changed. Healing can work in a similar way. Sometimes life brings us back to familiar emotional territory. Not because we failed to learn the lesson, but because we are now capable of seeing something we could not see before. Perhaps years ago you focused entirely on someone else's behavior. Now you are beginning to notice your own unmet needs. Perhaps years ago you blamed yourself. Now you are beginning to recognize where you were carrying responsibility that never belonged to you. Perhaps years ago you were trying to survive. Now you are finally safe enough to understand what survival cost you. The situation may look similar, but the understanding is different. This is why growth can sometimes feel uncomfortable. Awareness changes what we can no longer ignore. Once we see something clearly, it becomes difficult to return to old ways of thinking. And yet, clarity does not always arrive all at once. It often comes in layers. A little today, a little next month, a little next year. Healing is often less about finding a final answer and more about developing a deeper relationship with yourself over time. This is one reason old wounds sometimes revisit us, not because they want to keep us trapped, but because there may still be something valuable to understand. You may still feel sadness, but now you understand where it comes from. You may still feel disappointment, but now you do not build your identity around it. You may still experience grief, but now you can hold space for it without believing it will last forever. This is not failure, this is growth. Growth is not measured by whether difficult emotions disappear completely. Growth is often measured by how we relate to those emotions when they arrive. Can we meet ourselves with more compassion? Can we become curious instead of ashamed? Can we listen instead of immediately trying to fix ourselves? These questions matter far more than achieving some imaginary state where we never struggle again. Because healing does not make us less human. It often makes us more human, more aware, more compassionate, more honest, more capable of holding complexity. The next time an old lesson appears, perhaps the question is not, why am I back here again? Perhaps the question is, what am I able to see now that I could not see before? That single question can transform an experience from frustration into understanding. And sometimes understanding is exactly what allows healing to continue. If you find yourself revisiting familiar emotional territory, may you remember that returning is not always the same as repeating. May you trust that awareness itself is a form of progress. And may the true source of love and light guide you toward deeper understanding, greater compassion, and the wisdom to recognize how far you have already come. Thank you for spending this time here.